The thing is, I want to be perfect. Who doesn't? Who doesn't want to be perfect? Who doesn't want to be seen? Who doesn't want attention? Who doesn't want love? Um, and I think I'm addicted to it. I think I'm addicted to seeking love. I think I'm addicted to the approval of everybody and even the approval of my parents. Maybe I'm just an addict, enslaved to what they think of me and what they approve of. And it's crazy that I find myself in the same pattern, that I'm seeking their approval. I'm seeking the approval of other people, and I actually care. And yeah, you can learn how to not care. You can learn how to numb yourself. And for the first time in my life, in my 20s, I felt like, dude, this is me. Like, I'm going to curse. I'm going to do this. I'm going to do that. Like, my parents were making comments about my podcast saying, like, you're cursing too much or something like that. And it's like, who gives a fuck? Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, people curse nowadays. Like, I curse, and what? I'm not the goldfish of a son that you want me to be. And they have this expectation of what they want you to be. And it sucks to hear it, and it sucks to have their high expectations and deal with their anxieties and deal with their worries about where you go with life and what you're going to be in life. But they're your parents at the end of the day. I guess that's love. And love is scary. Love doesn't always make sense, and honestly, I don't understand it. I don't understand love at all, but I'm trying to understand it today. I'm trying to understand it, and I pray to understand it better today. And I hated myself for a long time because I wanted the approval of other people. And you start to realize that living for other people will never give you the love that you want. You start to realize that the world is never going to fulfill you in the ways in which you want to be fulfilled. I thought that the money would make me better, make me more, make me feel more of something. I thought that if I achieved enough, I will be enough. And all that's wrong. And it doesn't matter what level it's at. This is an inside job of you liking you. And for a long time, and still, I struggle with liking myself. I struggle with loving myself. I struggle with accepting myself and being myself. Because being yourself is the hardest thing we do in life. People struggle with this for forever. People struggle with just being them, and knowing that whoever they are, whether it's weird, indifferent, awkward, that's who they are, and they have to own that one day. And I'm a weird kid. I'm a super duper weird kid. I'm a goofball in so many freaking different ways, but as I've grown up, I've tried to lose that kid that I always have been. We grow up, but that doesn't mean that we're not kids anymore. When I was a kid, I was the goofiest kid. I was the happiest kid. I was the silliest kid. I was everything I ever desired to be. And I look back at those home videos and I'm like, where did this kid go? At some point I started to see myself walk, and I started to be like, oh yeah, he sees that the world's watching him a little bit now. He sees like, yo, people like have their eyes on me. Like, people actually judge you, and we're told how to live. We're primed how to live. We're told what's good and what's not good. And a lot of things are forced on us that we never asked for, and we have a lot of challenges and we have a lot of hardships that we never asked for either. Everybody's dealt cards. I like to put it like that. And I like to phrase life as some type of gamble, because everything is a chance and everything is a risk. but everybody was dealt a hand of cards. And some of those cards for the game that you're playing aren't going to be good. But there's always a way to play your hand. There's always a way to go about the hand and the cards that you've been given to win the game and be the best that you can be with that hand. But you're great in thousands of different ways. You're wonderful in millions of different ways. And people are going to tell you, you shouldn't be like that. You shouldn't do this. You shouldn't chase that dream. You shouldn't be this. You shouldn't. And they'll tell you so many things and try to put you in a box. And the fact of the matter is, it's like, you have to choose to say, no, I'm going to be fucking me. I'm going to be me, and I'm going to love me. And I don't care what you think. I don't. And even if it's your mom, even if it's your dad, even if it's your sister, even if it's your brother, you can't care what they think. You have to be the most authentic person that you are. Maybe they don't like it, but are they living your life? Or do they have to sleep those long nights where you can't sleep at night because you're not being yourself? Do they have to be in your mind every single day? No, they don't. Their pain isn't your pain. Their cards aren't your cards. And it's a crazy thing to think that maybe you won't be liked by anybody. Maybe you won't be accepted by everybody. It's crazy to think that it's perfectly fine that not everybody likes you. I thought, I want everybody to like me. I want to be everything for everybody. I was a people pleaser. I wanted everybody to like me for me. But then I started to realize not everybody likes me for me because I'm a certain type of person. And now today I'm just like, if you don't like me, if you're not my type of person, you can fuck off. Sadly, you can fuck off. I'm going to be me no matter what, through and through. I'm going to be me. And the reason I'm saying it like this, and the reason I'm kind of strict on it and saying, dude, I'm not going to try to be somebody else for you. I'm not going to try to conform for you. I'm not going to try to marginalize myself and put myself in a box and lower myself because you're insecure about who you are and you're fearful about who you are and you're fearful of the things that you do. You limit yourself on the things that you can do. I'm not going to do that in no way, shape, and form because, bro, that brought me to the depths of insanity. That God made me a way that wasn't good enough to be in this world. And now that I say it out loud, it's like God made every single person so great and so beautiful and so wonderful. But yet, we start to get it convinced by this world, by the people that we interact with, that the person that God made us wasn't perfect. And that threw me off of my purpose. That threw me off of every hint of who I was, because I was like, so you're telling me I have to be a certain way, and no, you don't. You don't. And that was a pain that I felt, that I felt at my core, that I wasn't accepted by my parents. That was incredible. And I still feel it to this day. And I talk about drug addiction, I talk about alcoholism, and I'm an alcoholic and addict, and I went through addiction, and I'm still going through addiction and still recovering. And man, that pain was a pain that's hard to swallow. That your parents might not like you. The closest people to you might not understand you. With this dream, with everything that I want to do with my life, they might not agree with it. They might not see it. They might not want me to do it, and they might talk against it. But this is what I was put on this earth to do, and God showed me, and God told me. So who are they to tell you what God showed you, what God told you you are, who God showed you to be? Yeah, you're not perfect. No, you're not perfect in any way, shape, and form, but you're perfect in his light. He made you a certain way. Yeah, I curse. Yeah, I do this. Yeah, that's who I am right now. But the whole point is I'm being the authentic person that I am right now. And that might be dark and that might be ugly, but somebody's there. You know, the courage of me putting this out, the courage of me stepping in front of the camera, somebody is here. Somebody is like me. Somebody feels the things I feel. Somebody feels uncomfortable with the fact that they are told to be something that they are not. You know? And when we get to high school and when we get to all these places where we now want acceptance from friends, we now want to be a part of everybody, that intuition of, oh, my parents even told me, bro, that not to do what these kids are doing, but at the end of the day, my parents are also telling me to be somebody that I'm not and their ideal version of me. And that goes back to my point of perfectionism. I think some people are so blinded by their own greed and their own ambitions and their own thinking that they don't even realize that they're putting something on you that you don't need. You know, the perfectionism, the ideal of perfectionism, and the ideal that, oh, I have to try to control this person because he's gonna make me look a certain way if he does certain things and he becomes a certain person because that reflects on me. You know, and once you realize that everybody kind of has this selfishness and that all they're thinking about kind of is their self, you're like, okay, yeah, I got you. You're thinking about yourself. You're thinking about your own fear. You're thinking about your capabilities. You're thinking about all the things in which you know you can do and you know that you can't do. And you're putting all those limitations on me. You know, I never would say to somebody something's not possible because I believe all things are possible. You know, but if there's another person and they don't think a lot of things are possible in life and they've lived a certain life, they're gonna say, yo, that's not possible, man. I've never seen that happen. I've never seen that happen in my life, so why the fuck would it happen in yours? You know, but there are people out there that are like you. And you're not alone. You're not alone in being who you are. You're not alone in the struggles that you face. You know, and I really thought dude, I'm the only person that must be dealing with this identity crisis of not knowing who I am because everybody acts like they know who they are. They're just so perfect in so many different ways and that they're thriving in life. You know, nobody posts on social media that they're super duper depressed. I mean, some people do, but I mean, we don't see it, you know? And it's true. It's true that we're all just trying to figure out how to be ourselves the best way that we possibly can be. You know, and I want to be everything. I want to be perfect. But perfect is something that to the world I will never be. Perfect is something I will always be to God. You know, and the whole point of God putting me on this earth is to be a mistake, is to make mistakes, is to sin, is to do wrong. You know what? We wouldn't have a Bible. We wouldn't have religions if people didn't do wrong. And we learned from their mistakes. Yeah, I need to go learn this mistake. I need to go learn from this mistake, and I need to go do these things. Yeah, I got to go do that. That's my journey. That's my path. Your path is your path. Don't let anybody tell you how to live your path. Don't let anybody tell you what your purpose is. You know. Every answer, everything that I've ever thought, I knew so much about. I knew the truth. I always knew the truth. I always knew what was up. And the scariest part is that, we know it's up. We know it's up too much. And I hated that I knew what was up. I hated that I'm seeing too much and I know too much of what's going on right now. And it hurts. It hurts to know the truth. And the thing is, the truth is the same thing that's going to set you free. You know, as much as God favors us, and as much as we're chosen by God, we're chosen by the devil too. You know, the devil's watching us. The devil's hunting us. The devil knows that we're chosen. The devil's trying to persuade us into thinking, yeah, you're not. You're not chosen. You're not this. You're not that. You need to be something else, And you have to always remember, bro, I'm me and I'm perfect, bro. Saying that positivity is life changing. And I was as hard on myself as people were as hard on me. Like, people show you the love that they were given. And when I think back on my parents and their upbringings, they treated me just like how they got treated. So don't think it's personal. That's the only form of love they know. The way they are treating you. And that's okay. That's their love. But there's a way to learn love. And there's a way to know that you're wrong. And there's a way to know, yeah, I'm perfectly imperfect. And like, I can learn how to be better. I can unlearn patterns. And in a way, that's why they call these things generational curses. The generation is passing on to the next generation. And the only way that you can break a generational curse is to know I have the strength and I have the capability to be what God showed me I can be. And fear goes on for generations. The mother, the father telling their son, telling their daughter, oh, you can't be this, oh, you can't be that. Like, whatever you're around, you're going to end up being that. If I'm around 10 losers, I'm the next loser. No matter what, they're going to find a way to bring me down. No matter what, they're going to find a way to get in my mind to tell me, nah, you're not. You're not as good as you think. They're going to find a way to make you as small as they are. But you're a giant. And you have to remember you're a giant. And maybe it's cocky. Maybe it's crazy to think like, yo, I'm him. Like, I'm that guy. Like, I'm good. I'm good enough. Like, I'm perfect, But you have to. You have to. Always remember, at one point in time when you were a kid, that was who you were. That is who you are. And over time, you started to find out who I am is not good enough. And the drugs, like, I want to say this about my addiction and sobriety, right? I was in my active addiction using that drug, using that drink, using that substance every single time to feel like that kid again, to feel like myself again. The first time in my life after being a kid and being a grown-up that I ever felt comfortable was when I got high for the first time, when I got drunk for the first time. I was finally able to see myself in a positive light. I was insecure. I felt like I wasn't enough. And that drink and that drug made me feel like I was just enough. I was perfect. I wanted to feel perfect. And that was the addiction to perfectionism. I'd get high, I'd get drunk, and I'd look at myself, be like, oh my God, that guy's sick. I'm sick. Oh my God, I'm sick. I'm cool. That's all I wanted to know, that I was cool, that I was enough, and that I was loved, and that I could be loved. And that was the addiction that I grew. So, in a way, is my addiction to the drugs, bodily over time, it became to the drugs? Or was my addiction perfectionism and acceptance? When I was a young kid, like 12, 13, going into teenage years, I was addicted to the high of being accepted by other people. And I'd do anything to get that high, to get the laughs, to get the applause. That's what I lived for.